Next level is a totally different world. I was looking at it saying, no, this is the essence of success. Like if we can teach this, we'll win. It was an interesting choice point and changed my life and changed thousands of other people's lives. If you focused on human development and true principles of human growth, true principles of how people maximize and actualize potential, and marry that with substantive biotechnology, which we have, I think we could create something pretty distinct.
We need to decide what is life about, what is really the meaning of life, or what I want to accomplish as a human being. Welcome to I think so very special interview. And it might be even challenging your paradigms. I will interview a man who worked at Wall Street, was successful there, and today is the owner and president of a company where he tries to implement what they call next level of marketing, next level, how we as entrepreneurs are really working for the next level of humanity. So very interesting, and even more interesting, this is the owner of a company which is in the area of network marketing. I'm involved in network marketing for nearly 27 years, and I saw a lot of companies coming, going. Some couldn't stand it when the change in the world was there, and some are developing or even thriving to support humanity to go to a new level. And we will mention also what we call the spiral dynamics. On the Graves model, Ken Wilber used it, and Dr. Beck wrote a book about it, which the title Spiral Dynamics. And you will see here a chart, and it's about conscious levels, the idea of conscious levels. And you see where we are coming from is really a very low level in the very, very early years. And it's just about me. And then we created tribes to protect us. And in the tribes, we gave up our individual identity somehow just to find the protection in the tribe. So the we was more important, but some developed out of it, so went to the so-called red level, and it's a me again, even if there's family still involved, and we feel and see it with the world and the Make America Great Again and these kind of we levels. Then comes the so-called blue level, and here it's about organizing everything. Because when we have another level, just fighting, and in Russia, for example, after the Soviet Union broke down, the oligarchs, it was the need of really changing something. And then something else came, the so-called orange level, how we thrive. The classical American rugged individual, you need to be the best, the Fortune 500, and you need to be the CEO. And if you're second in the top 500, you're even a loser. Coming second is losing. But this is not a good model for humanity. And even if they're developing good things, but if we keep it on the human level like this, only the winner counts, then we create really the mess. And what we're seeing today. And then comes the so-called green level. Oh, the kids who saw their parents fighting. And yeah, then they said, oh, let's go become hippies or whatever. And the woke uh, movement started. But with the problem of the green level, they don't get the rubber on the street. And then often we go down. And like in COVID, we went down to blue level. And now in network marketing, it's quite usual to be on the orange level. And here comes an interview with someone who says, no, we need to go on a higher level. We need to understand humanity. You build it even, and using network marketing to bring people on the integration level. Then you see the yellow and the turquoise, that's levels where we start seeing the integration from there. The first six levels, those awareness levels, they only can see what they can see on that level. I will make an extra video longer to explain this, but I wanted to give you this short instruction, how important it is, and we will mention it in the interview and what it is really about next level. Next level is always going one of these levels upward. And it's started because on one level, the polarity is the fighting. The mind who created the problem can't solve it. We need always to go to the next level. And here in network marketing industry, I was really surprised to find an owner, a leader who says we can use network marketing really to support humanity also to go to a next level, to an integral level. So not just a yellow me level, even to the turquoise level, the we level, the we queue. So I hope you're very interested in this. And you need to be careful because a lot of things is just a wording and has so much deep meaning. So it makes sense to listen a couple times to it and compare it with your life. So, and now, I said enough before, listen to Tyler Norton, the owner and co-founder of ASEA Global, and enjoy the thoughts, enjoy what is possible if we all go to a new next level. Welcome, Tyler. It's really a pleasure and honor to have the possibility to talk with you. And I want to start with a more personal question, even if we want to talk about marketing, network marketing. But your business career started at the Wall Street. So I can understand that someone at Wall Street starts an own company, but that someone from Wall Street is now more teaching or preaching, even, I would say, Ubuntu philosophy or purpose before profit. How was it possible or changed totally my paradigm at Wall Street?
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you, number one, Wolfgang, for inviting me to join you. It's a privilege to share some thoughts. I started working for a New York domiciled insurance carrier, a Mutual of New York, which is a large, probably $60 billion investment firm at the time, and worked in the retail financial services space. And I was able to learn a great deal about working with distribution, in particular commission-based, self-starter, self-motivated distribution. And I was a individual sales rep for a season of time. I led the country as a sales manager. Then I was a national director. Then I was a managing director over two states in the United States, and then was recruited away to a regional carrier as a vice president over sales. Ultimately, became a chief distribution officer for probably a $500 million organization. So I had a really, really good experience in that space, but I also saw a lot of activities and a lot of things in that I didn't appreciate.
Mhm,
Where results and ego and economic motivations were almost overshadowing good business.
mhm,
And so I had some deep feelings about, okay, do I give away my principles to just succeed in this space like everyone else does? Is there such thing as an honest rich man? How does this work? Like how do you keep your moral character while trying to build a business in this world? And in 2008, 2009, there was such massive financial disruption. I had an opportunity to sell a portion of one of those businesses to Goldman Sachs and Blackstone, the two largest private equity firms in the world, and was a senior vice president for them for a year. And I would go to Manhattan to the Four Seasons Hotel, top floor board meetings, and I would sit and watch some of the greatest business minds of my day. And I just kind of felt like, no, I don't know that I want to emulate that. That's
Mhm.
not what I hope to be. And so my father wanting to start a network marketing company was saying, come do this, you know. And the financial space was tricky back then. I was going to have to move back to New York or back to Boston, you know, to go back to work as an executive. And it was just it was a beautiful kind of major change in my life, changed my entire life to pivot into network marketing
Yeah.
and to kind of embrace the humanity of business instead of just the fiscal realities of business.
Thank you. I can relate to it a little bit because I had a law office, tax accounting offices, and one day I was fed up with it somehow, and I was struggling emotionally also with it. I said, "Oh gosh, another 20 years.
Yeah.
Who could be an idol for me who is doing it another 20 years?" And I personally didn't find some. So I needed to go out of that industry. So in this way, I can relate to it.
Yeah, it sounds similar. Sounds very
Um,
similar. Yeah.
and, okay, was it more that now your father called you to network marketing, or were you involved in network marketing or in this kind of industry before?
No, I mean, in the financial services retail side, you know, structures are built out where commission sales reps are then over, you know, seen by what you would not call uplines, but they're basically uplines. They participate in the commission above them. There's general agents, managers, and then structures. So there was a lot about what I would just refer to in principle as distribution that I understood very well. I think I had a very traditional view of network marketing like everyone else, which was it was negative. Most people were not succeeding. You know, I didn't think it was very principled. Um, I give my dad the credit for being willing with a Fortune 50 background. I mean, my dad was the head of strategy for a $50 billion global organization, like Fortune 10 company. So, you know, he looked at it and vetted it pretty carefully, and it was interesting to see how um, quickly he acknowledged this is a better business model. If it's done correctly, this is a better business model.
So what is better?
Yeah, I think from his perspective, you know, he had worked in more traditional sales for many, many years, and so you say, okay, if efficient word of mouth marketing and sharing things from a place of authenticity can be in a very, very effective way to share, you know, a product. He had distributed food products largely through very conventional supermarkets and distribution channels, very different. This was more organic, and
Mhm,
if done with substantive product and substantive people, you would be able to do some pretty significant things. And when I started to get exposed to it, I could see a lot of the principles of human development that were what were missing from my prior feelings. I loved seeing, because really the awakening of the soul, the awakening of what I could be, the calling of potential. I think everyone in life at some point trades maybe the what I call the maybe for the sure thing. So I need 3 meals a day. I need to pay my bills, and so I trade what I might be able to become for this sure thing because I can't afford the risks of any downside.
mhm,
Um, and so I love the human spirit I started to find in network marketing. But I fell in love with it almost after getting involved with it, not before.
mhm,
And I think that happens to a lot of people where maybe they find it by accident, and then they fall in love with it by purpose. And in my case, you know, I did come from some really principled people I worked with locally that would remind me all the time, hey, what you're becoming is as important as your income, and that you should be working on yourself. And when dad started to look at network marketing, I think he looked at it very pragmatically, very much, very practically. This is an interesting distribution method. And then I came to him and said, if you focused on human development and true principles of human growth, true principles of how people maximize and actualize potential, and marry that with substantive biotechnology, which we have, I think we could create something pretty distinct. And so I brought something more of the humanity side of it that I don't think my father experienced as much in his career. And we both kind of fell in love with the industry at the same time.
Mhm. Uh, would you say with the industry or with the model of, because you said also if it's done correctly.
Yeah.
So how many companies you saw before who was doing it correctly, or you said, I couldn't do it better.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, I think it's more we saw people not doing it well and saw the opportunity for a contrast that would be obvious. If you were doing it right, solid, what we would call Fortune 50 business management principles, along with, ethical leadership, and then substantive product. Because I think there were a lot of people we would talk to who say, well, the product doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And we don't agree with that. Like, we think there needs to be substance in the product. Others would say to us, if you have a good product, it's all about compensation and comp plan. Just put money on it. And we saw there were some players we respected for sure. I mean, my dad would do his research and say, I like this company, I like what I see here. But on the whole, we felt like we had an opportunity to do it differently.
Mm.
And we think a lot of people say it, everyone says we have a unique culture, and I'm sure they do to some measure. But we were hopeful that we could marry really, really true biotech, like patented biotech, with this form of distribution, coupled with a real commitment to ethical leadership, good business principles, and an ethos that emerged from that.
I guess it's a kind of universal law, at least on the long run.
Yeah,
It's important to be aligned with principles, the right
yeah,
principles, but everything else is not really working. Um, and that is also what you talk about, I guess, the purpose. What is the real purpose to do? Because when your dad, yeah, let's say, created the product and everything was there, he could have gone into the other distribution systems and so, and he was very successful with that. But there so is something more, I guess, why he was choosing network marketing.
yeah. I think it had to do with kind of an awakening of my dad to the humanity of it. I mean,
Mm.
there's some stories out there that are very true. One of them is that when my dad began to be very curious about what this technology could represent for people, I was not in agreement with him that he should be sharing it. I felt like it was a risk, for a number of reasons, but he had a high degree of confidence based on all sorts of safety data and research he had. But there's no exaggeration, Wolfgang, when I say that he would share it and people would come back to the front door of his house and knock on the door
Hmm.
and say, we're interested in getting more of it. So he was starting to see the power and the ability. It would start to go to places he had no intention, and people were coming back to get more of it because they were perceiving a benefit from it.
Hmm.
And so, in that regard, I think he began to sense the impact. When you're selling a consumer packaged good, you don't ever have an impact moment where someone says, okay, I bought Kraft cheese and I had this human impact moment. It's caloric intake, it's food, it's taste. But my dad was starting to have these real human interest, real people giving him immediate feedback on the impact. And so when you consider, wow, we could impact a lot of people, as he began to think about the process of going the other channels, he realized the impact would be diminished and in some cases maybe completely destroyed because they may choose for all the wrong reasons to bury it,
Hmm.
uh, or they may choose to channel it in a way that very much limits its impact.
Yeah, that was you're referring to that the pharmaceutical industry was interested in buying
Yeah,
patents and but then suddenly what I understood, your dad realized, oh, it could be really that they bury it and nobody
yeah.
really benefit of it.
That,
Hmm.
sometimes those stories can be made into folk tales and be exaggerated or embellished. That's not the case.
Hmm.
He literally had an opportunity to partner with a multi-billion-dollar player in the space, and then he had this moral question of what happens if no one ever benefits from this?
Hmm.
Had he not had the experience of sharing it, even just with friends and family, kind of his own network marketing case study, he was able to see, hey, this is helping people across a broad range of use case. And so he was saying, okay, there's potential here, but he knew they would either limit it or, to your point, bury it. So it was an interesting choice point and changed my life and changed thousands of other people's lives
Yeah.
because he just chose to stay in the game. He took the harder road for sure. It
Hmm.
was a much harder road because it required raising investment capital, starting a business when you're almost 70 years old. And but when I think I've said to you and others, my dad said the happiest 10 years of his life was age 70 to 80
Yeah.
because he was fully engaged in something he felt was making a difference.
Yeah. In this way, we can discuss what risk really means. Um,
Yeah.
the risk on the material level, okay, that
Yeah.
was a hard one, but like you said, then it was a good choice for fulfillment. And we know often in these podcasts, I mentioned the book from Bronnie Ware, the nurse who wrote the book, The Top Five Regrets of the Dying. So, and if you're not live the true self, by the end of your life, you have a problem.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And when
But
you said during you started with network and really um, getting more and more the idea. So if I understood it right, in the beginning, that what you call your ethos or your principles today was not there. So you developed it.
yeah, I think I brought some of it from the financial industry. I had read a book by David Callahan called The Cheating Culture.
Hmm.
And it was a book exposing that the American ethos was beginning to disintegrate around the concept that if you could get away with something, you should do it.
Yeah.
And it was very disturbing to me. I read it twice and I thought, this is a big deal. Like, it told stories of people that never graduated from medical school or cheated on their medical exams and went on to be doctors. And it was almost calling out the fact that the true principles of the law of the harvest, of putting in genuine and sincere effort, of growing and developing, were being lost. And so in that book, it talked a great deal about the American ethos, which used to be, this notion of the American dream that if you put honest effort, intelligent effort, and hard work, that you could improve your situation for yourself and for your children. And it basically was calling into question the American dream and just saying, is this really a thing? And so this is 25 years ago I read this book and so I started to think about what are the principles and that really underscore enduring success. And I had been working in the financial industry. I was over thousands of distribution players. I was over a banking and institutional channel. I had an independent brokerage channel with thousands of people selling products. I had what's called a career distribution channel, and I started to really audit backwards, you know, who was succeeding. And it was, I literally had a producer that was the number one producer in the company that had received all of these recognitions, had bowed for the laurel, received the medals, and was in jail 2 years later for fraud.
Hmm.
And I was looking back and saying, what is it about all these people that, And I started to talk about the relationship between a motivational commitment to ego and economics versus a commitment to principles and truth.
Mhm.
And what I started to see was if you didn't learn motive management, and by motive management, I mean keeping your commitment to principles higher than your commitment to yourself and money, there was going to be a failure at some point. That
Yeah.
you might be able to win in the short run, but the long run, it wouldn't work. And this was all happening in the financial industry. And then, of course, we had the whole breakdown of undocumented mortgage loans and how that affected the international banking system. All of that is the same problem, which is ethics,
We had not
ego.
a financial crisis, we had a kind of, what's a principal value crisis.
Yeah, it's true. And so when we were starting ASEA and dad was really saying, come do this with me, let's do this together. I said, I'll do it, but I want to do it where ego and economics, we try our best to
Mhm.
manage those because everyone has ego motivations, everyone has economic motivations. But I showed him EPC, which is managing ego and economics beneath your principal commitments, and then C is capacity, lifting your capacity. And I think at some level he was fine with it, maybe more from a marketing perspective. I was looking at it saying, no, this is the essence of success. Like if we can teach this, we'll win. So that part came with me. And then at every convention, I would try to teach something that was embodying those principles and principles of humanity, how to see and treat other people, how to see and treat yourself, how to manage motive, what are the true connective tissues of human development and growth? How can they find expression in network marketing? And I began to refer to that as the ethos of ASEA. Ethos being the defining or distinguishing spirit of a culture. So what is our culture? What distinguishes us or sets us apart? And I found that people were thirsty for a place to land. They could feel thirst that they could believe in, and they didn't want to believe. They weren't even sure they could believe it.
Yeah.
And so they would look at you very funny because anytime you teach an ideal, people look at you and say, "Well, you're a hypocrite." And it's harder.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but some of that came from my prior life of seeing what not to do and being excited to say, what if we did this right and meant it? Like we were being sincere.
Yeah. So, network marketing, but then you start network marketing, you choose whatever compensation plan or this um, well, let's ask first just general where you see it's going, because in your case, it's 15 years ago. I started 27 years ago, the
Mhm.
first time after I closed down everything with network marketing, after I avoided it also. And it changed, so the world is changing. So,
Yeah.
where is it going? First of all, I can believe there is more longing for a trustworthy community at the moment,
Yeah.
but not so much is offered. Um,
Yeah.
the general network marketing, how will it be in the future?
Well, I have an optimism about it.
Mhm.
And the optimism is that as the world becomes, in some ways, less kind, it certainly feels like the geopolitics. I'm not. I'm concerned with the lack of civility
Mhm.
and humanity
Mhm.
in the way things are happening, and I think that provides a great contrast to good-hearted people who are looking for a place to be where the truths and principles that underscore good humanity and good business are still being espoused. I think you will see an increase of artificial intelligence finding expression in business. And I think people will have a new thirst or hunger for authenticity and humanity. It will become easier to see and recognize when marketing or even AI is trying to be human and it can't be.
Mhm.
And so, what I think is interesting is the core competencies of network marketing are already really very much where I think the things are going in the future. But I think network marketing also has to mature into new realities of both technology as well as how social media influences business, how e-commerce happens now. Where does commerce meet people? And how do those things continue to evolve and enhance? And I think the pendulum will swing and has swung to technology and AI because it represents efficiencies. But I think the lack of humanity is also going to cause uncertainty, and people are going to be looking for greater sense of certainty and community.
Yeah.
And so I think if we can hold true to the principles that underscore community, make sure our product has substantive and demonstrable value. You have to be able to say there's value in product.
Mhm.
Um, but then let the relationships, products, and authenticity and community be a nice contrast to a world that seems to be getting less real and more artificial,
Mhm.
and also a world that seems to be dehumanizing in a very unintelligent way for 2025.
Yeah. You said two things need to be added, authenticity and humanity. Authenticity, it's for me, at least I make it simple for me. It's easy, it's just be authentic. But humanity, um, here I'm always a little bit challenging myself, or now you. What does it really mean? What is it? And
Yeah.
especially, at least I believe, we need to define it new for the future. So, what is in your view the actual, or especially the humanity we need for the future?
Yeah, I have really strong feelings about that question because I think one of the quick checks with yourself as it relates to humanity is, do you see people or
Mhm.
do you see people as objects?
Yeah.
When you see a person as a person, you acknowledge they have hopes and dreams and fears and pains and happiness. You
Mhm.
you you see them truly, and you are true.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing in humanity is to acknowledge that being a person myself, I know what it feels like to be a person.
Mhm.
And, and so that gives me context to see other people through that same lens.
Mhm.
And instead of judging them by their beliefs, their skin color, their orientation or choices, I
Mhm.
see them as a person with real hopes, dreams, and fears, just like me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the basic starting point. Then I believe responsiveness versus resistance is an interesting concept because I think as a person, I know what it means to be a person. I know what it means to be scared. I know what it means to be fearful. I know what it means to be hopeful. And so if I can now allow myself to acknowledge in you those feelings just like I have them, and then not resist your humanity by ignoring you, but respond to your humanity by trying to lift you and help you,
Yeah.
which is really a way of being more than doing or saying. So if your heart is at peace towards other people and you're not creating differentiating distinctions between us that cause you to see them as less than human and more like an object, but actually elevate the humanity of who they are. They love their children no differently than I do. They love life. They love a great meal. They like all the wondrous things about life that make life joyful and rich. Well, that's what they love too. So seeing them in that same light, it develops in me a sense of compassion, a sense of sensitivity, and an increased desire to respond to their humanity rather than to resist it.
Mhm.
And I think we lie to ourselves when we see people and think differences. Even right now, I was traveling when things were happening in Iran, and it was really interesting just the geopolitics in the background. Being an American traveling in Europe when I was coming home from the trip I was on with you, I could feel a sentiment shift as though things that were happening geopolitically were a reflection of my humanity or lack of humanity. And it was very interesting because I found myself wanting to be more human in the face of dehumanization and war. it's like, no, we're dehumanizing entire populations and families. I don't agree with it, by the way. I denounce war. I denounce all forms of violence. And I think we have opportunities to elevate the humanity, slow down, see people as people, not as objects, see them with real hopes, dreams, and fears. And if you see them truly, you are true.
Sounds a bit, you read out of the book Leadership and Self-Deception and
Yeah, that's absolutely the basis. Yeah, it's Arbinger for me has been a great moral foundation for absent religion, approaching the world through the lens of just seeing people as people and treating them with that respect. Yeah, so very much that's definitely you're hearing the threads that are deep in my heart.
yeah, that's wonderful because, let's say, 20, 25 years ago, I uh, had Jim Farrell teaching in
Yeah,
my
I know Jim.
first steps in network marketing, and I still do
Yep.
the Arbinger pyramid, and that's what I understand also in your teaching. Like they have this pyramid, don't work just with motivation, or if
Yep.
it's not working, go down as more, yeah, on the way of being. You said it also as more
Yeah.
being, working on that.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm coming from.
Is that what let well you don't see it here really so good, huh? But we will put the chart in. Um,
Yeah.
what you then, at least in your mind, first developed, I guess, the
Yeah,
idea
for
of next level marketing.
Yeah, this was almost a spiritual experience because it was during COVID and I was wanting, there's this concept, Wolfgang, of moral creativity, which is finding new ways to talk about old things that are true that never change.
Hmm.
And so, sometimes we hear the same thing and our ears turn off. We hit the mute button. So I was trying to say, how could I teach the ethos of ASEA in a new way, even though it's the same truth?
Hmm.
And so I heard someone once refer to that as moral creativity, and I love that concept. And so I was sitting in my office. We were in the middle of the challenges with COVID, and I started to think, okay, I have a message I'd like to share at convention, and I'd like to try to pull from the better part of almost 15 years of experiences trying to teach the ethos of ASEA. And I wanted to try to summarize that in a compare and contrast document with what the old world used to do and what I felt like the new world would need to be.
Hmm.
And so then I started thinking about multi-level and that language of multi-level. And then you hear people all the time, let's take this to the next level. Let's go to the next level.
Yeah.
And I said, wouldn't it be interesting if we left what the old world thought of multi-level and just said we're going to elevate to a next level of marketing? So that was the first. And then honestly, for several weeks, I sat very quietly at this very desk and I wanted it, at least in English, it didn't always translate into other languages, but I wanted in English there to be some play on words that would create greater moral creativity, that would get you thinking about the difference, for example, between a transaction and a transformation.
Hmm.
And the idea was, okay, how could I use language to give people a clear way to think about, yeah, you're right. The old world was trying to convince you to do something. The
Hmm.
new world just needs to be deeply convicted of something, believe something.
Yeah.
Be I had been asked in sales at times to just try to convince somebody to buy something,
Hmm.
but I even didn't have a conviction of it myself.
Yeah.
But because I made a commission, I was taught just go convince someone to buy it.
Yeah.
And the older I get, I have a belief that your desires get educated as you get older. And you don't want the same things you wanted when you were younger. You crave for greater substance and essence and not the shape and form of things. And so what was happening to me was I was like, how do I find the essence of what a really truly centered and grounded, unique individual in this business can be?
Hmm.
And so that was it. And I spent hours and hours. I can say that this particular model was something that I spent a lot of time and felt very inspired by it and during it with some of the language that emerged from it. So it was a neat experience. and definitely one that was kind of trying to summarize all these feelings over the years.
Mhm. For me, next level has also Um, at least I work a lot with the conscious level, the Graves model, or Ken Wilber use it. I don't know if you're familiar, spiral dynamics, and that we need to go to the so-called integral level. And that's a problem is the first six levels of awareness or consciousness, he says, they only see their level, and there you can see the problems. And we can solve also all the problems on planet Earth only if we do kind of next level. Like Einstein said, the mind who created can't solve it. We need to go to a different level.
I agree.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So that's why I like to understand. I have a chart here, is also Old World, New World titled. So preparing the new world, and this says, oh, no, it's a German here. So I'll see what in English is. Well, it's not about convincing someone, it's to be yourself convinced. So for what is it I need to be convinced of? Exactly that what you just said before. Do I?
yeah. So in English, conviction and convincing are have different nuances. If you said the old world tried to convince you, they used persuasion, they used, in some cases, manipulation.
Mhm.
I believe that the human being can respond to a person that's truly speaking and campaigning from a place of belief.
Yeah.
And so if you have a deep abiding conviction, I think there's dimensions of that conviction. One is in yourself,
Hmm.
another, another is in the humanity of others. And for example, even being convicted that other people can make intelligent choices, they don't need to be manipulated, right? I used to have a saying early on that conviction sells and emotions buy, and logic pays for auto ship.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
don't sell from a place of logic and don't sell from a place of trying to manipulate emotion. Share and campaign from a position of conviction and belief. And
Hmm.
so the idea is what does convince people is conviction, it's belief.
Yeah.
And when you're speaking from a place of deep, abiding belief in product, opportunity, impact, potential, all of those are dimensions of conviction. And I used to say early on, we should all become chief conviction officers on our teams
Hmm.
because people don't move unless they believe. Belief is the prefiguring of all meaningful action.
Yeah.
If I didn't believe I would make it to the office today, I would not get in the car and drive down here. And so belief precedes everything. And so that was the idea, was maybe the cosmetic surface level of convincing, go deeper into what do you really believe? And it needs to be in self, product, the whole opportunity.
Hmm. Okay, so that's an interesting task to do it for different cultures on planet Earth,
Yeah,
really to do that. But
not easy.
yeah, but if it works, very valuable for humanity.
Yeah.
The next word, transformation, isn't this, yeah, somehow or included, or you mean something different with that?
Yeah, I think it's similar, but we used to measure our success in the industry by how many transactions we had, how many sales we got.
Mhm.
Um, and I think I had a wonderful mentor one time who said to me, we talk a lot about um, measuring someone's even worth and capacity based on the number of units sold.
Mhm.
And there was just, so the idea is, well, what happens when my attention and interest is really on becoming a better human being?
Yeah.
And if I sell a product that has transformative potential, then the transaction itself is just a foreshadowing of what could be a very transformational event. And
Mhm.
I have letters that come in. I have a stack right behind me that come in thanking me or my father or my family, my mother, for what this has done to transform their lives.
Hmm.
So if you go into this, the old world was obsessed with, focused on, and committed to being focused on transactions. And I think new world or next level marketing is going to be saying, no, like, are my products helping to transform people?
Yeah.
And there
Mhm.
was a great book, Wolfgang, perhaps you read it, called The Experience Economy, that was arguing that economies had moved from extracting commodities to taking those commodities and building products. And then it kind of moved into greater development of products into services. And then the argument of these two professors at Pepperdine University was that it was moving from services into experiences. And that at each stage, the relevance to the customer and the pricing potential into premium pricing versus commoditized or market pricing would go up. And that overall, the differentiation would go up as you moved from commodities to products, products to services, and services to overall experiences. Later on, the professors were asked, well, if we're in an experience economy now, where might we be headed? And their answer was, we think staging experiences will yield to guiding transformations. And that those organizations that can play guiding roles, that can give guidance into transformation, will be more relevant, valued from the standpoint of price, right, differently, and differentiated if they can deliver on a transformative experience. And so for me, that's what I kind of was feeling was transactional experience felt like a lesser progression of economic value, and that human value, including economic value, would be found if we could play a role in guiding someone's transformation.
Oh,
And so that was the concept.
I love it and can totally agree with that. And I use MLM. I don't know if you use it in the US as well. MLM is for me my life mastery. So in the
Yeah.
end, it's, but also a kind of, we need to decide what is life about? What is really the meaning of life? What I want to accomplish as a human being at the end,
Yes.
or not to regret what I didn't do, because that's what the main regrets were. And after a transformation, you have here personal development. And my experience is a classical personal development is just on the horizontal level, or how can I sell more? Because nearly every network marketing company says we are in personal development, but is
Yeah.
not really that what you mean.
Yeah, I think to what you just said a minute ago about, life and successful life at the early years, because you need money, you're trying to develop into a certain measure of security or safety. Income is very prominent. But in an industry where commission sales are putting no ceiling on your income potential,
Hmm.
what happens is you overemphasize the income potential and you underemphasize the become potential.
Hmm.
And so what happens is, because I'm in an industry where can you make $1 million selling ASEA in a network marketing business? Yes, I have several people doing that. But what happens is that becomes overemphasized. And I believe that what really is more valuable, John Ruskin said that it's not what we earn from our labors, but what we become by them that is of most worth.
Yeah.
So, I find myself interested in seeing how people develop
Hmm.
into their unique capacities and talents and gifts,
Hmm.
because the substance of that value is far greater than economic value.
Yeah.
Eh, I have a degree in economics from the university, and so I studied economics at great length. Why do people make choices? And there are three laws that underscore microeconomic theory. One is that people have access to perfect information. Well, they don't.
Hmm.
But all microeconomic theory says they have to know all the information. There can't be any asymmetry of information to make a good decision. Well, every decision people make largely is asymmetric.
Yeah.
Then they say people are rational. And I would say my experience is in sales and in network marketing, most people are not rational.
Yeah.
Um, all of us choose to eat or do something that has all sorts of data behind it that says that's not good for you. Smoking a cigarette, eating excessively, whatever it is, I get it.
Mhm.
So the first two theories that underscore all microeconomic theory are that people are rational and that they have access to perfect information,
Yeah,
and nothing is further from the truth. The
yeah,
third is that they have a desire to maximize their situation. And so all microeconomic, and they call that maximize utility in English. And it's like, well, that they bundle utility, but it becomes de facto money. And I don't believe that. I think that the microeconomic theory is far too linear. And I think human beings are not rational. They're human, they're emotional.
yeah,
They want to maximize more than just utility from a money standpoint or satisfaction. They want to become. And so I look at it far more the way the natural world expresses itself in a tree being fruitful. Like I think there's a very obvious natural world around us trying to teach us that our essence is far more than just income and commerce.
yeah.
It's really flowering and becoming and being fruitful and allowing that fruit to yield fruit of its own and seeing others succeed. And that's why I like to say you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed. If I plant one seed, it can yield bushels of apples. Each apple has 8 to 11 seeds. If each seed becomes a tree, that's a very powerful principle of becoming and expanding becoming, as opposed to saying, how much can I sell this one apple for and throw the seeds away? So it's more about what you can become.
I guess if depending on the awareness, I would say, oh, that's is I can make more money with 11 trees. I can go in the trap of this. So now I'm being
No,
and
I'm
all
not.
the risk of regretting what I didn't do uh,
Yeah,
is more one of the shows. Or Bob Proctor, one of my mentors, always had every goal. I mean, it's not what you get, what you become. It's really why we're here. And
that's right.
and the money thing, we just say this also is a yeah, turnaround or a misunderstanding of what is cause and what is effect.
Yep.
Yeah. And it is really that we put the cause and we call it the Abenja pyramid. Yeah. Though the rest comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Success is a result of something. So money is a result. Or I use the example, I need blood in my body, otherwise I have a problem. But the meaning or the purpose of my life is not collecting blood.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Mm, And
I love that.
we
Yeah.
come from a period historically, we made all our wealth with war and sickness.
Mhm.
And it's a crazy, if you think logically, you're destroying all the time. But if you could transform to the understanding or the becoming that we are ready to live with peace and health, we can create so much more wealth.
I love that. And I think wealth is dimensionalized. I feel that there's been a hijack of the definition of prosperity, that prosperity is not just measured by money.
Yeah.
Prosperity is so much more dimensional. It's happiness, it's joy, it's peace, it's unity. It's allowing people to express their own agency without making them less. So yeah, I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying.
We're just using a new formula of wealth. Wealth is what's left when you have no money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And the greatest minds and the greatest thought leaders and philosophy leaders and religious leaders of every tradition have all taught that, right? They've all just said,
nothing new. The laws didn't change, the universal laws. So when we go to the next one, is it also what really is not what I see, what I really is. So it's a kind of deeper understanding of
yep.
laws, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So the optical versus actual. So And there was one above that, at least in the one I have, which is compensation versus compassion. And let me just hit that briefly.
Mhm.
Um, Everyone I would talk to, Wolfgang, would say to me, like the comp plan, the comp plan, the comp plan, the comp plan. And I started hearing the word comp differently. And I
Mhm.
was like, what would it be like if every time I heard the comp plan, it was compassion plan? Like, what is the compassion plan? And so the sense of
Mhm.
the word passion in English means suffering. Most people don't think that way. They think it means intimacy or like strong feelings. But the last week of Christ's life is called the Passion of Christ, right? Well, it's his suffering. So
Mhm.
a compound word in English is calm, is with, together. Passion is suffering. So I think when you come at your marketing approach by realizing that if I don't do my job well, someone might suffer, that's a very different thing. And when I have thousands of letters that speak to the impact our product and our opportunity is having on helping people not suffer, that becomes a different motivation of marketing. That feels next level to me, higher level.
Yeah. Mhm.
The old world on the optical side, I felt like the industry was trying to always look a certain way. It
Mhm.
was almost trying to make itself, how would I say this, justified or recognized because of the way it looked. And I've always just said, no, like the essence of this whole thing is what you are.
Yeah.
And so, don't worry about how something looks. And as we get into social media and the optical is dominating, right? How something looks. And my daughter will show me, these people that are influencers on social media. And I feel so bad for their homes and families because they're dressing up their whole life all the time.
Mhm.
And um, I think it is teaching our youth that the optical is everything. And I think there's a lot of unhappy people who look optically okay. I had a boss that used to say it's never as good as it looks from the outside, and it's never as bad as it looks from the inside. So just be real.
Mhm.
And so that actual is just saying, who are you internally? You
Yeah.
know, and where are you? It doesn't mean that you have to believe everything I believe, but you should be true to what you believe. You should be focused on the inside.
And they're ignoring, but that's maybe an advantage being a little bit longer on the planet already and seeing a lot.
Mm,
They're not aware that they're riding a wave. And when the
mm,
wave is gone,
yeah.
then it's often like the lotto winner, the millionaire. It's not just losing it, he's in worse shape than before. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Created an image of yourself, and now you can't keep up. It's interesting with compassion plan. I always use more um, the competence plan, and I was always missing. And I even worked out in my first network really a big book about for which level, which competence, because we
I
have
love
only pins for ranks. Okay, then it doesn't need to be the pay rank, but whatever.
it.
But what level? What kind of competence do we really wish to have at that level? And
I
that
think it's
is not
fantastic.
really trained or made aware. Mm.
I think that's fantastic. It probably would have made the list if I knew that concept. That's a great connection.
Yeah, but it's a challenging because, but it's avoiding a little bit if you have no competence and you see people kind of with a wave or whatever. If you have someone good in your downline, you raise up, whatever.
Yeah.
And easily go on the trap. And if you ask for competence, then I go there where money is easier. No? So it's a, it is a, but without competence in what you're doing, without substance, whatever it is, it's not a long-lasting game. Huh? Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. The wave will at some point you'll be swimming out to try to catch another wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how I missed with a lot of network marketing companies. I didn't see so much, but so far I don't know, not really was aware of a company which is teaching really the awareness or what you talk the competence and the future skills. What do we need to train to really deliver that what we believe what we need in the future? Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay,
love
let's go. then it comes and do something for others, and then we have hope.
Yeah, I think I just a lot of these things overlap, but what is the essence of hope? What is the essence of hype? How am I using excitement at an event or a meeting to try to get you emotionally? I heard recently Bob Dylan, who I'm very intrigued with as a musical artist, who was criticizing musical artists today, and called and it was he was very direct. He said, "This is emotional manipulation, not art." And he was arguing that some of the music that's being developed today is actually developed not to promote, true, meaningful artistic expression, but just to manipulate the emotions of a lot of people all at once.
Hmm.
And I thought that, I mean, that's aggressive coming from him. And he's always been a very outspoken person, but that has stuck with me, emotional manipulation. And so I think hype tends to be emotional manipulation.
Yeah.
If and it's not bad to be excited about something. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're using emotional manipulation in the old world to get someone to a transaction, whereas in hope, you're actually awakening a sense of potential and positivity in the future in people that has far more to do with their potential than any kind of transaction. That's why hope aligns with transformation.
Hmm.
You have to have a sense that the future can in fact improve, that you can grow and develop. So hope is a beautiful emotion and a beautiful truth, but it can turn into emotional manipulation. And obviously, it's one letter difference in the English language. Like hype is with a Y, hope was with an O. So that was part of the play too, is be careful that you're not acting like this, you're creating hope when all you're really doing is emotionally manipulating someone into thinking something.
Well, that's the world we live in. Everything is politicians everywhere. You get the manipulation, and it has nothing to do with authenticity or supporting others to be authentic. And so far, when I met people who I felt were really authentic, or what we say, centered,
Yeah,
well, no hype.
the hype.
Hype is only possible if you lose your true self. Huh?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So the next one is what can I contribute? So
Yeah, I think the idea that
taking, giving.
yeah, it's just what does life look like if every person was concerned about contributing value? One of my favorite quotes that I memorized when I was in my 20s was that service is the virtue that distinguishes the great people of all time
Mhm.
and the virtue by which they will be remembered. It places a mark of nobility upon its disciples and represents the dividing line between the two great groups of the world. And this is what the quote said: those who help and those who hinder,
Hmm.
those who lift and those who lean,
Hmm.
those who contribute and those who only consume.
Hmm.
And I loved that comparison of, okay, am I a person that is helping and lifting and contributing, or am I a person that's hindering, leaning, and consuming?
Yeah.
So the old world was trying to want to be recognized and valued. And I think the new world has to say, am I adding value to other people's lives
Yeah.
and to the people I love and to my own life? And become, my dad used to say, you're going to be valued in life in large measure to the degree that you make yourself valuable and you actually add value. So be aware, like, what do I contribute to this situation? Am I improving someone else's situation? Am I adding value to my downline, my team, my family, my children, my spouse? Or am I a consumer? And the world is trying to teach all of us, no, you're just a consumer. And I think contribution, when your mindset shifts to and your life shifts to contribution, and you can see people that are committed to contribution, and it's awesome.
Yeah. I had a hard time when I was young and felt a tough life. Giving is, yeah, better than getting. I couldn't get it really
Yeah.
until you really start. And then you see, I love to give someone a present. I love to do it. And there's so much more joy in giving. And you can only give what you have. It's even it flows through you. So it's
Yeah.
really an understanding, but we were trained for neediness and being out of authenticity. And there's a guy in America, Kevin McCarthy, who is doing on the purpose work,
Mhm.
and he has a nice saying. You get it down to a word, and it is, "I serve the world by." That's the meaning of my life. I serve the world by
Mm.
or radiating joy or whatever.
Mm.
And this, I serve the world by creating awareness. So that's and then you do that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So. Then we have also, it's not just about making money, it's also really building people.
Yeah.
So,
I, that came from years of meeting leaders in this business that would come in and say, I built a nice check at this company. I built a nice check at this company.
yeah.
And I was like, you don't build checks, you build people, right?
Mhm.
And so I think there's an overemphasis on I built a check, but I think the substance is you build people.
Yeah. Or the people build your check. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying, and if you remember at this presentation, I drew an arrow from the right side back to the left and said, I'm not saying compensation is bad.
No,
I'm
no.
not saying any of this left stuff is bad. I am saying when it becomes the only motive,
Yeah.
right? You've killed the whole spirit
Yeah.
of what this should be. Next level is a totally different world. And these things are natural, effects to that cause.
Mm. Well, that's what we try to express simply here with the little change in the three words. It's not winning in life, so it's winning for life. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
try to
And
express.
Wolfgang, I need to say the few times I've heard you speak, I feel like you are next level marketing times 10. Everything that you say, the way you say it, the life experience you bring with it, the humanity. I literally was in Europe listening to you speak and thought I would pay to come listen to Wolfgang teach me. I feel very privileged to align with people like you. You have an incredible sense of authenticity, and I think you have a gifted ability to teach people. And this teaching is being it's a lost art in a world of consumerism and transaction. And so many people are sad, into their 40s, 50s, and 60s because they've really been duped and confused with all of these stimulus. And it takes people like you and to help someone shine the mirror, see the world a little differently, and step back and say, hey, I don't think I'm doing this right. Like I need to find the purpose and win for life, not in life or not beat someone else, but no, win for life. And I think you're doing wonderful things. And I want to thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you for sharing that with me. And yeah, it took a long time that I really was ready, also, like you said, sharing more with the world. And we decided now, and we start now really going more public with everything what we teach.
I
And
love it.
the modern technology gives us hope for that. And that is good for the next one. I mean, really somehow open the brains for new thoughts,
Yeah.
for
I
the
had a,
hearts also.
yeah,
Mhm.
I had a dear mentor that would tell me, did you close the sale? Did you close the sale? All this, did you close the sale? And he started asking me instead of, he said, did you open the mind? Did
Mhm.
you open the mind? And so this play between closing something versus opening something.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful metaphor for, and I think, again, I think that's what you do well. It's just, no, open someone's mind because you get in these very narrow lanes of I got to close the sale, I got to qualify for the Ascent trip to Europe or wherever, I've got to qualify, I've got to do this. And if you just take a deep breath and say, actually, I just want to open people's minds to their potential, to their ability to become, to what this could represent for them, it actually makes you more authentic the second you think it. You immediately
You feel
say,
it. Yeah. If
yeah,
you
yeah,
choose to share,
yeah. And so I think the idea is slow down, and that speaks to the next one, which is or one of the next ones, which is just be present.
yes.
Be
Hmm.
present. And when you're present, focus on opening your mind and opening someone else's mind without judgment, without manipulation or emotional manipulation. Just
Hmm.
engage in the experience of what they want to become. And it may or may not be a fit for them to buy something from you at any given time, but you will develop a relationship with someone that will be meaningful and valuable. And that feels way more natural to me than I closed the sale. I got you to write me a check.
I think it's a very healthy egoism
Yeah.
to be authentic.
Yes, it is healthy. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think that's the slippery part that people don't realize. It's very subtle, but if you'll just be there, everything will come back to you.
Yeah, and then just before being present, if we are honest, there's no other place than the here and now. The rest is just illusion. So moving people, creating a community, I think that's the main thing. I know you and a lot of people working in your company are really good in family life. But if we look at the world, we lost a lot of that. And
Yeah.
people are really um, deep inside, really longing to be with something, group or whatever. If we call it family or what it is, doesn't matter. But I need to belong to something. Yeah. And then we come to the beginning where we thought, oh, at the moment it's really where do I find a good community?
Yeah. And we've had this phrase, believe, belong, become, because, if the conviction is there, and if you can find community that has common conviction, you don't have to believe exactly what someone else believes, but you have to believe in each other's humanity, and you have to believe that both of you can grow and become. And I think, you know, businesses like ours, I was fascinated recently to see a very, very large competitor of ours who was owned by private equity, that the private equity team came in and they looked at all the numbers and they just said, we're going to go to an affiliate model, no more network marketing. Uh, and they're out of business in 18 months. I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of commerce. But they completely ignored that we are in the business of people. And the greatest strategic asset of ASEA is not actually in its product, it's its people. And that when people truly awaken inside of themselves a very safe and general sense of, I want to be and do more, I want to find what winning for life is, I want to go there.
Mhm.
Uh, that wars are fought over resources, oil and wood and stone and minerals and wealth, but the greatest resource in the world is the human resource. And if you can create a community of people committed to becoming better, doing good things, and create the environment for them to grow and develop and succeed, you'll move people, they'll move product. Like if that will happen. But if you can move a group of people into a community, that's when it really gets powerful.
Yes, thank you for doing the work for that.
You too.
I only can say thank you and admire what you did, your personal change in this, I think you said it, and what you in the last 15 years accomplished with this, avoiding hype and giving a lot of hope and creating this. Very grateful for that because especially my slogan here, winning for life. So having the chance to interview and talk with someone here who really is working exactly on this for the world, for the humanity. So that is really an honor, and I thank you, Tyler, and I wish you and Bea for this all the best.
Thank you, Wolfgang. It's great to be with you. Thanks for the opportunity.